Hello everyone, welcome to an analysis of dance where we discuss the movements and debuts of the Billboard Hot Dance charts in immaculate detail with in-depth reviews of each debut each week. Oh finally, a cooldown week for someone that doesn't look past debuts, because really the movements across the board here are just ridiculous, and even if there's a lower number of debuts on average, which is definitely welcome as a cooldown week for me, this week was still really busy anyway, so not really a whole lot's changed outside the number of debuts. Lovely. Hell, I see one of these debuts making a run for the biggest jump in the history of the Hot Dance chart, so we'll have to see what happens come next week. But anyways, top 10, where surprise, Houdini by Dua Lipa is at number 1. Now this doesn't really surprise me as it's continuing to stay really strong on radio and streaming, but the sales did rebound, so you know what, this might actually have a much longer shelf life than I expected. And of course it knocked down Yes and by Ariana Grande to number 2, although that was kind of expected considering the remix game was not going to last. But given that the album has just come out, this is probably going to rebound back up to number 1 in the next few weeks, so we'll have to see what happens there. But then there's also Strangers by Kenya Grace at number 3, and even if radio is rotating this out fast, it's got such a strong hold on streaming that it's probably not going to fall very fast at all, and that's a good thing for me because I'm glad it's sticking around as long as it has. But then there's Training Season by Dua Lipa falling down to number 4 off the debut last week, and really this doesn't really surprise me. Considering Houdini is strong in all formats, the new single wasn't going to exactly get as much momentum, and even if radio is on board in a big way, streaming did fall back. It is going to hold steady though, so you know what, I can't really complain too much. And hell, that airplay push is the only reason that Murder on the Dance Floor by Sophie Ellis-Bextor is holding steady at number 5, as the streaming is starting to really fall back on this as soon as the airplay gets on board. Really, this is probably going to end up not being a hit on the Hot 100. That's not good. And I mean, thankfully, what's not going to last is Contigo by Karol G and Tiesto at number 6, where the streaming absolutely fell back and radio was not on board with this. Good. Hell, the lazy sampling continues with Whatever by Kygo and Ava Max at number 7, where the radio is still not on board with this at all. This is probably going to stall out and eventually fall off really damn hard. But what really shocked me was that Shiver by John Summer and Hayla actually continued to gain up to number 8, where all formats, especially on streaming, are really embracing this one across the board. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to last at this spot, but hey, it might have the potential to hit the bubbling under soon. That is really surprising for me. Oh, and rounding out, we have My House by Beyonce at number 9. Really the only reason this jumped is because a certain song fell out of the top 10 entirely, and the same deal as well for Insane by Black Griffin and Basic at number 10. Although that one's got a lot better streaming than I think many people would expect. It's not going to go down without any sort of fight. But before we get to the effects of that, we have our falls and fall-offs, where we actually had some pretty notable ones across the board. I mean, yes, we expectedly lost DJ Girls Falling in Love by Usher featuring Pitbull out of the top 10 as expected, given that's a Super Bowl song that lasted way better than it really should have. But even though I'm not exactly happy that Saving Up by Dom Dollar is gone, it is going to comfortably make the year-end list, and if it's going to take out Lovely Bastards by Yatashi Gang and Swayhand after 26 weeks, that is absolutely welcome because that song is still absolutely atrocious, let's be real. Hell, it also took out the original Hypnotic Data by Odetari. This is a complete win for me. That song's not good either. But man, not really a whole lot to note in our falls, as most of the ones that did fall last week were able to stabilize considering some of the big collapses around it. I mean, there are a few exceptions like One Night All Night by Justice and Tame Impala at 34. Can we please keep that around? It's falling really worryingly fast, and that's not good for its year-end list chances. But also notably, Stuck Inside by Black Griffin, Basic, The Living Tombstone and Karen Foster continuing down to 49, and at the rate it's going, it might just barely miss the year-end list. That's a good thing. Also, When We Were Young, The Logical Song by David Guetta and Kim Petras fell down to 31 as it starts exiting out naturally, having clinched its year-end list spot as well. That's also good. But the rest were all debuts from last week, with Carry You by Martin Garrix and Third Party featuring Oaks and Declan J. Donovan at 43. Honestly, I'm surprised that stuck around a second week. As well as Rest of Us by Griffin and Rita Ora just utterly collapsing to 40 as a really safe bet that didn't have any sort of replay value. Really telling there. But then there's also Down by Jason Derulo and David Guetta only falling to 23. That's not a hard fall. Why is it not falling harder? Can we continue to aggressively ignore it? It's not good. But what's really noticeable are our jumps and comebacks, where we had 17 songs jump 5 or more spots this week, alongside a return for former ramp Better Luck Next Time by Comtrues at the very bottom at 50 as a song that I'm surprised has stuck around at all. But now let's get on to the big story, starting from the bottom up here. Shake That Shit by Jennings and K. Clara 44, Echo by Rascal, Repiet and Julia Klein finally getting a bit of momentum at 42, which is definitely welcome. What You Want by Hysteria rebounding to 38, as well as Better Off Alone Part 3 by Alan Walker, Dash Berlin and Vic Star at 36 is a song that might actually make the year-end list, which is awesome for me. You and Me Revo remix by Disclosure featuring Elisa Doolittle continue to surprise everyone and really stick around well at 35. That's awesome. And Dreaming by Marshmello, Pink and Sting rebounding to 32. That's not awesome. But then there's I Saw by Lumi Athena at 30, 42 by Diplo and Mara Morris at 29, Vocation by Ozuna and David Guetta somehow still here at 28, Took a Donka by Curse Devil, DJ Fuck You and scored up to 27, and then two particularly dire jumps for Thank You Not So Bad by Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike, Tiesto, W&W and Dido at 26, and most annoyingly, Sunboy 2024 by Goche, Kimbra, Fisher, Chris Lake and San Sanson up big to 24. Where is the momentum for this? I thought people didn't like this. Why is it sticking around? And finally, Leave Me Alone by Fred Again and Baby Keem, likely benefiting off the new single up to 19, Fashion by Brittany Manson rebounding hard to 16, Dance You Out of My Head by the late Kat Janice rebounding to 15, as well as the sales getting absolutely big on this one. Dance Alone by Sia and Kylie Minogue somehow rebounding to 13 as the remix gains give it some sort of artificial boost. Lovely. And finally, the one debut that surged from last week, H plus 3 plus Poison 7 LUC J-Lo OT6 by Via Val up to 18. A song that's actually going to stick around and probably end up becoming a hit. That is awesome. It's such a nice change of pace. But yeah, after all that, only 5 debuts this week. Let's start off with number 47, Overdrive by Ofenbach featuring Norma, Gian, Martine. That Offenbach still has an audience in the United States, let alone one that's able to get this to actually chart at all. For context, this song was released in October of last year and has absolutely blown up across Europe to the point where it has over 100 million streams. But given that Offenbach has been a really inconsistent name across the States, it took this long to actually chart here, although you could argue that the Dance Alone remix was why people actually gave this any sort of attention at all. But okay, given I wasn't really at all a fan of Offenbach's first charting songs, I wasn't really sure what to expect here. I did hope it would at least be interesting considering how big it's gotten, and I'll give them credit, this is actually really damn solid as well. I mean, it's not really all that notable or groundbreaking in the grand scheme of this genre, going for a really nice relaxed deep house approach with some really buzzy synths that sound quite nice against percussion, but it does have some nice driving vibes with that pulsating bass, and the drops actually do sound really pretty, especially with Norma G and Martine, who I've always liked on vocals, especially on songs like this, where she's got the energy and personality to match this vibe perfectly. Especially in comparison to the slap house that they did in 2021, this is a much better look for Offenbach, and really I'm not surprised at all that the European public really got on board with this. I mean, I don't expect it to really have anywhere near the same level of staying power in the United States, considering that they're very indifferent on this guy at best, but if it does stick around, honestly I would not really mind. This is really damn solid. Number 46, Wet Dreams by Odetari and Nimstarr. Well, at least Nimstarr is here, right? I'll be honest, I'm getting fucking sick of Odetari at this point. He's just recycling the same damn song and people are still not letting go of him this long after his flop album In Door to Dusk, but just really, why are we getting this charting now? Especially for a song that came out in June of last year, are you serious? But I'll give him credit though, this is actually not that bad. I mean, the vocals are still awful as Odetari has absolutely no personality, and the terrible vocal effects across a really repetitive hook really do not work well, especially with these gross stalker-ass lyrics. And Nimstarr's verse is just absolutely terrible as he berates a girl and his friend for not being on their knees begging for his money. Charming. But I'll give him this, at least the production is okay. It kind of works in a similar vein to Lumi Athena's stuff with a much more melodic atmosphere and some really nice twinkly synths that actually do sound really pretty. And the stuttering effects on that hook next to the lighter synth tones do actually make it pretty damn nice to listen to, even if it is repetitive as all hell. I mean, I at least can understand in this case why this one was able to get a second wind. It's not one of his worst songs, all things considered. I mean, it's not good, mind you, but you know what? I've heard way worse from the guy. This is passable. I guess I'll take it. Number 45, Stayinit by Fred Again, Lil Yachty and Overmono. just know that this is going to be absolutely huge when it debuts a week early, which for Fred Again is absolutely massive. I mean, I'm not really surprised. This is a song that's been teased for a while now as another track to add on to his USB sounding tracks, and really considering Lil Yachty's on here, I'm not surprised that all that's blowing up as fast as it has. And I mean, hey, he also brought along the rising UK duo Overmono, who released an album last year that I actually found really damn good. They've got a lot of potential to be absolutely huge in the future, let's be real. But with this, my god, he just keeps on delivering, because this is absolutely excellent as well. The production once again goes for his intense UK garage sound with the wavering synths that sound a lot like Turn On The Lights again, but I'll be honest, I think it works a lot better here as the drops have a lot more energy and really ramp up that synth melody, and the dark rumbling bass and really intense atmosphere really do create a really strong usage of empty space here. It kind of reminds me a lot of Rumble in that regard, and that's absolutely a good thing. And Lil Yachty, man, he fits into this vibe really well. I mean, his auto-tune vocals really do work well on these sort of empty atmospheric tracks, especially with the songs off of Let's Start here that should have been much bigger than they are. And here he absolutely fits into the vibe and really just sounds like another instrument in the mix. His voice is perfect for this sort of song. I mean, more than anything, it shows that insanely high ceiling that Fred Again has really been nailing with his recent singles. I look forward to this absolutely surging next week and being another smash hit for him, because it is absolutely excellent. Check this out if you somehow haven't already. Number 37, I Just Need by Daniel Allan and Lyrah. It always surprises me when we get a genuinely organic, non-TikTok related breakthrough for a new artist. Although in this case, it is actually pretty impressive considering this guy doesn't seem to have any sort of TikTok boost. The people just check this song out naturally. For context, this song came out in August of last year with a lot of really solid backing behind this guy. I mean, he's got collaborations with Roman Silva and Suzuki on the same EP that this song was on, and honestly, that's a really good sign that he might actually have some staying power moving forward, especially considering he's part of the rising trend of Stutter House, which has really been blowing up with songs like Echo, and I'm absolutely on board with it as a genre. It's been consistently great from what I've heard. The repetitive vocal chops, the incredible atmosphere that absolutely sounds gorgeous, especially on the drops where they have some serious momentum behind them. And even if Lyrah's vocals do feel a little bit flat on the verses, she's got enough personality and some really impressive vocal delivery where I can still mark her as a positive regardless. I mean, I don't really have a whole lot to say about this one, to be honest with you. It's just a rock solid Stutter House song, and if it actually manages to stick around, I'd definitely be on board with it. This is a really damn promising start. And finally, number 25, Conquer by Marshmello and Space Laces. I'm keeping this short and sweet for my own sanity, because at this point it's just a rinse and repeat of everything I've said about every other Marshmello song that's charted in the last few weeks. I mean, at least the build-ups feel a little bit more unique. They go for a bit more of a metal approach with those grimy guitars that at least do sound quite menacing and enjoyable for me, but then the drops come in and ruin everything as the production just once again has no groove, there's no melody, it's just a repeat again. I mean, it's such a waste of Space Laces too, who, even while I'm not a huge fan of him, I expect he'd had at least a little bit more personality to this. But with this, it's boring, forgettable, and not worth anyone's time. Skip it. And yeah, it's getting the worst of the week, although I will give credit that Wet Dreams was not able to get there considering the production was doing a lot of heavy lifting. But for the best, yeah, it's easily going to Stayinit by Fred Again, Lil Yachty and Overmono, although I will say that Daniel Allan song was actually really close to getting there. That song is really damn solid too. Next week, I don't really know what to expect outside of New Justice and Martin Garrix. I mean, we've got the huge surge of Stayinit that's likely to happen considering it debuted a week early, but the big story might also be the return of Galantis to the hot dance charts, for better or worse. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's all for this episode of Analysis of Dance. See you next time.